I caught her whispering on the deck. That's how the worst night of my life started, standing barefoot on the porch of our place in Mount Maunganui, holding 2 cups of tea like an idiot, listening to my fiancée plan my public humiliation for a cash prize. It was a Thursday. 2 days before the wedding. I'd come home early from the office because I wanted to surprise Chantal with the Panama pendant I'd had carved for her. Custom piece, cost me $4,000, greenstone from the West Coast. The slider to the deck was open a crack, and I could hear her on the phone, laughing in that low, conspiratorial way she had when she was gossiping. I almost called out. Almost said, "Babe, put the kettle on, I've got something for you." But something stopped me. Maybe it was the tone. Maybe it was instinct. Whatever it was, I listened. Rico says he'll transfer the 60 the moment I walk out of the church. 60,000, Ash. All I have to do is tell Ethan at the altar that I never loved him and that I've been with Rico the whole time. Rico wants to film Ethan's face for his podcast. Says a grown man crying on camera will get 1 million downloads. I set the tea down on the windowsill. My hands weren't shaking. They should have been, but they weren't. Ashley's voice came through on speaker. That's brutal, Sean. Ethan's a good bloke. Ethan's a boring accountant who thinks a big night out is fish and chips at the Mount. Rico flies me to the Gold Coast for breakfast. There's no comparison. But 60K? Rico actually has that kind of money? He's got crypto, sponsorships, the podcast. He's loaded. And honestly, Ethan's family already dropped 45K on this wedding. Non-refundable venue, the caterer, the florist. I've already moved half my clothes to Rico's apartment in Ponsonby. Ethan's so trusting he hasn't even noticed the empty drawers. What about his mom? She's been so lovely to you. His mom can cry with him. Makes better content. They both laughed. I picked up my phone and hit record. Chantal kept going. The best part is Rico's already written the script for me. I'm going to say Ethan was never enough, that he's the kind of man women settle for, not choose. Rico reckons that line will break him. That's actually evil, Sean. That's 105K when you add the wedding money. I call it retirement planning. I recorded for another 6 minutes. Got every detail. The plan, the timeline, the money, the insults. When she finally hung up, I slipped back out the front door, drove to my brother Aiden's place in Papamoa, and sat in his driveway for 20 minutes before I could speak. Aiden listened to the recording twice. Didn't say a word the first time. Second time through, he paused it at the part where she called our mom a doormat. "What do you need?" he said. "Everything." We stayed up until 3 in the morning. I pulled the security camera footage from the Ring doorbell. Rico Delgado, all 6'2" of him, had been coming to my house an average of 3 times a week for 4 months. Always parked around the corner on Marine Parade. Always left before I got home from work. I called my mate Wiremu, who'd been my best man since we were 13. He's a sound engineer at a studio in Hamilton. Told him everything, sent him the recording. He was quiet for a long time, then said, "Brother, I'll bring my full rig. Whatever you need, I've got you." Then I called Wiry, my cousin who does wedding videography. He'd already been booked to film the ceremony. When he heard the recording, he said something in Rio that I won't translate. Then, "I'll have 3 cameras running. This is going to be the most important video I've ever shot." I didn't sleep. Sat on Aiden's couch watching the sun come up over the ocean, turning that Panama pendant over in my hands. $4,000 of love for someone who thought I was a punchline. Friday morning, Chantal started texting. "Baby, my hairdresser canceled. Can you call her?" I didn't respond. She called. I let it ring. She texted again. "Something's wrong with the joint credit card." I'd canceled her access at midnight. Called the bank, explained the situation. The woman on the phone actually gasped. "Sir, I'm so sorry. We'll freeze everything immediately. By noon, Chantal was in full panic mode. Her makeup artist had pulled out. I hadn't called her. Chantal's friend Maeve had, because Maeve had heard about the bet from Ashley and was disgusted. The florist redirected the flowers to Hospice Tauranga. The photographer sent a polite email saying he had a family emergency. He didn't. He just didn't want to be part of it. Chantal's mother rang me. Ethan, darling, what on earth is going on? The vendors are all canceling. Ask Chantal about her arrangement with Rico Delgado. Who's Rico? You'll find out tomorrow. Ethan, this is a $30,000 wedding. 45, actually. And you're right. It is. I hung up. That evening, a text from an Auckland number. Rico. Heard you're having a meltdown, bro, relax. Tomorrow's going to be legendary. He added a laughing emoji. I replied, see you at the church. Saturday morning. I put on my suit. Navy blue, tailored, looked sharp. Aiden drove me to the venue. Old stone church in Katy, surrounded by orchards. Beautiful spot. 210 guests. Chantal's side, my side, colleagues, old school friends, family from as far as Invercargill. Wiremu had set up the PA system the night before. 3 wireless speakers positioned perfectly. Rewiri had cameras at the altar, the balcony, and a handheld roaming the aisle. I stood at the front. Pastor Henar gave me a nod. I nodded back. The music started. Chantal appeared at the doors in a $9,000 dress, my parents' money, Dale flowing, bouquet of white peonies. She looked incredible. I'll give her that. She walked down that aisle like she owned every person in the room. She reached me. Took my hands. Leaned in and whispered, last chance to make me happy, babe. I squeezed her fingers and whispered back, you already lost. Her smile flickered. Just for a second. Pastor Henar began. The vows, the readings, the usual. Then he reached the part I'd been waiting for. If anyone present knows of any reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. I raised my hand. I do, actually. The church went dead silent. 210 people holding their breath. Ethan, what are you doing? Chantal hissed through her teeth. Before we go any further, I said, loud enough for the back row, there's something everyone in this church deserves to hear. I looked at Wiremu. He hit play. Chantal's voice filled the church. Crystal clear, bouncing off those old stone walls. Rico says he'll transfer the 60 the moment I walk out of the church. You could feel the air leave the room. All I have to do is tell Ethan at the altar that I never loved him. Chantal lunged for the speaker nearest to her. Aiden stepped between them. Calm. Solid. Turn it off, she screamed. Why? This is your plan. I'm just helping you execute it. The recording kept playing. When it reached the part about my mother being a doormat, Mom stood up in the second row, pointed at Chantal, and said, you ungrateful little madam. Dad had to sit her back down. Chantal's father went white. Her mother started crying. Not fainting, not dramatic. Just sitting there, tears streaming, staring at her daughter like she'd never seen her before. Rico was in the 5th row. I'd spotted him the moment I walked in. Filming on his phone, grinning. The grin died about 30 seconds into the recording. When it got to the part about his podcast, he stood up and tried to leave through the side door. Wiremu's brother Taiping was standing there, arms crossed. Nah, bro. You're staying for the whole show. The recording ended. Silence. Chantal tried. Baby, I was drunk. It was a joke. Ashley dared me to say all that. It wasn't real. The Ring doorbell footage of Rico at our house 3 times a week for 4 months. Was that a joke too? More gasps. Someone in the back actually said, oh, bloody hell. I turned to the guests. Sorry you all came out for this. But the reception's paid for. The kai is sorted, the bar's open, and the band's set up. Please go enjoy yourselves. Just pretend it's a really expensive Saturday lunch. I took off my boutonniere, set it on the altar, and walked down the aisle. Chantal grabbed my sleeve. Ethan, please. We can fix this. I'll end it with Rico. I'll give the money back. You never had the money, Chantal. That was the con. Rico played you the same way you played me. Difference is, I figured it out. I kept walking. Rawiri was filming every step in 4K. By the time I got to Aiden's car, Rawiri had already uploaded the first clip to his YouTube channel. He titled it, Groom Plays Bride's Own Recording at the Altar. New Zealand Wedding. Update 1. Sunday morning, 9 a.m. The clip had 280,000 views. By noon, 500,000. My phone had 94 missed calls. Chantal's mother, you've destroyed our family's reputation. Me, your daughter destroyed mine first. Chantal, 17 voicemails ranging from sobbing apologies to threats to furious screaming to more sobbing. I didn't reply to any of them. Rico texted from a new number, take the video down or my lawyers will bury you. Me, New Zealand is a one-party consent country for recordings. Google it. Also, screenshot saved. Cheers. Someone had already made a TikTok edit of Chantal saying retirement planning with the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme playing over it. 600,000 views in 4 hours. Update 2. Monday. Rico's podcast sponsor started dropping him. His show was called Alpha Grind, which tells you everything you need to know. Comments flooded in, this the guy teaching men about respect? Imagine paying $60K to ruin someone's wedding and you can't even follow through. Alpha Grind more like Alpha Cringe. His download numbers cratered. He posted a damage control video on Instagram. The media is distorting everything. I was trying to save Chantal from a controlling relationship. Ethan was emotionally abusive. My lawyer, sorted within hours of the wedding, sent a cease and desist by lunchtime. Rico deleted the video. The internet had already saved it. Chantal went on Facebook Live from what looked like her childhood bedroom in Puke. Mascara everywhere. I made a terrible mistake. I was manipulated by a narcissist. Ethan, if you're watching, I love you. I always loved you. The comments were savage. Girl, we literally heard you call him boring on tape. Manipulated? You sounded pretty excited about that $60K. Accountability is not in this woman's vocabulary. Update 3. Wednesday. Chantal's employer, a mortgage broking firm in Turanga, released a statement. We expect our team members to uphold the highest standards of integrity. We are reviewing the situation. By Thursday, Chantal had been let go. A colleague told me they walked her out with a security escort and a cardboard box. Rico wasn't doing better. Someone in his podcast community leaked his DMs. He'd been running the same scheme with at least 4 other women across Auckland and Queenstown. One woman came forward publicly. She'd been promised $40,000 to dump her partner at their engagement party in Takapuna. She didn't go through with it, but she had the messages. Then the twist I didn't see coming. A woman named Natasha contacted me through Instagram. Polite, direct message. Hi Ethan. I'm Rico's wife. We need to talk. His wife. The man had a wife. We met at a cafe in the viaduct. Natasha was a pediatric surgeon at Starship. Composed, intelligent, clearly devastated. They'd been married 11 years. 2 children. I knew he was an idiot with his podcast and crypto nonsense, she said. I didn't know he was doing this. How many women has he manipulated? At least 4 that I know of. Probably more. She stirred her flat white slowly. I'm filing for divorce on Monday. My lawyer says I'll get the house, the kids, and whatever's left of his accounts. Which, knowing Rico, won't be much. I'm sorry you're going through this. Don't be. You did me a favor. I would have spent the rest of my life married to a con artist. She paused. Chantal wasn't special to him. She was just the latest target. That doesn't excuse what she did to you, but you should know the 60,000 was never real. He doesn't have it. He hasn't had real money in years. The crypto is mostly losses. The podcast barely covers his car lease. That actually helped. Not forgiveness. Closure. Update 4. The video hit 3 million views. A current affair reached out. I declined. Didn't need the circus. But Rewiri did a tasteful interview with a journalist from Stuff. Kept it factual, no embellishment. Chantal tried one more time. Showed up at Aiden's place where I'd been staying. 7 in the morning, looking rough. No makeup, track pants, jandals. 5 minutes, Ethan. Please. I stood in the doorway. Didn't invite her in. I've lost everything. My job, my flat, my friends won't return my calls. My parents can barely look at me. Rico blocked me. He never had the money, did he? No. I'm so stupid. You're not stupid, Chantal. You're cruel. There's a difference. Stupid is forgivable. What you planned was deliberate. I loved you. In my own way, I did. Your own way included calling me boring, laughing about making me cry for content, and sleeping with another man in our bed for 4 months. That's not love. That's not even close. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know. But you were going to leave me standing at the altar in front of everyone I love, sobbing while your ex filmed it for his podcast. You don't get to ask me for help. She stood there for a while. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. You're right. I know you're right. I just hoped you'd be the bigger person. I was the bigger person for 4 years. That's how I ended up here. She left. Update 5. 2 weeks later. Chantal set up a Give You a Little page. Help me rebuild after online harassment. Goal, $50,000. The description claimed she was a victim of revenge porn and cyberbullying. It raised $41. Someone donated $5 with the message, for a career coach, since your retirement planning didn't work out. Rico attempted a comeback. New podcast called Rising from the Ashes. First episode got 23 listens. His wife's divorce lawyer had frozen his accounts. Someone found out he owed IRD over $150,000 in back taxes. Inland Revenue doesn't care about your podcast hustle. They want their money. Natasha took him for everything. The Ponsonby apartment, the BMW, the kids' school accounts. He moved into a flat in Otahu with 2 mates from his crypto group. Last anyone heard, he was doing DoorDash deliveries and had deleted all his social media. Chantal moved back to Tepuke. Started doing admin work for her uncle's plumbing company. Her social media disappeared completely. Maeve told me Chantal tried online dating, but every match Googled her name. The video was always the first result. Update 6. 3 months on. Life got better in ways I didn't expect. I met someone. Isla. She's a vet nurse in Tauranga. Found out about the video on our second date and nearly choked on her Sauvignon Blanc laughing. She quotes the recording sometimes when I'm being too serious. Retirement planning, she'll say, and we crack up. Work promoted me to senior partner. My boss said, and I quote, anyone who can handle a crisis that calmly under pressure is someone I want running accounts. Cheers, Chantal. The strangest thing? Chantal's father rang me about a month after everything settled. Different tone from his wife. Quiet. Measured. Ethan, I owe you an apology. I raised her. Whatever went wrong, part of that's on me. I appreciate that, sir. I found out she'd been lying to us for over a year. About Rico, about money, about everything. She told her mother you were controlling. We believed her. I'm ashamed of that. You were protecting your daughter. I understand. He sent me a check for $20,000. Towards the wedding costs. I sent half back. We both lost something. Let's split it and move on. We've had a beer together twice since then. Odd, I know. But he's a decent man who's heartbroken about his daughter. I can respect that. The video settled at around 4.8 million views. Rawiri's channel blew up. He donated the ad revenue, just over $11,000, to Women's Refuge. I matched it. Someone asked me online if I regret doing it so publicly. Making it a spectacle. Honestly? No. She planned to humiliate me in front of 210 people for a podcast episode and $60,000 that didn't exist. I just changed the script. But here's what I've learned, and this is the part one wish someone had told me years ago. Trust your gut. I ignored warning signs for months because I wanted to believe in the story we'd built. The late nights she explained away. The new clothes she said were from sales. The way she'd angle her phone screen away from me. I saw all of it and chose not to see it. People show you who they are. Believe them the first time. Not the fifth time. Not after the wedding. The first time. And if someone treats your love like a business transaction, walk away. Your dignity is not a bargaining chip. Your heart is not content for someone's channel. You are not a punchline. I'm in a good place now. Isla and I are talking about getting a place together down in Papamoa. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet life with someone who actually wants to be there. And yeah, I'm seeing a counselor. Not because I'm broken, but because I want to make sure I never walk past red flags again. My counselor says I handled it well, though she doesn't recommend the viral video approach for everyone. Fair call. Isla reckons she's dating a celebrity now. I told her the fame has an expiry date. She said, good. I just want the boring accountant. First time anyone's called me boring and I've taken it as a compliment. Oh, and Rico? If you're reading this from your flat in Otahu, that $60K you promised Chantal? She's still waiting on that bank transfer, mate. Just saying. Sometimes I sit on the deck at Aiden's place, the same deck where everything started, and I think about how close I came to standing at that altar with no idea what was about to hit me. 2 seconds. That's all it was. 2 seconds of hesitation before I walked through that slider door. If I'd called out to Chantal instead of pausing, if I'd made noise coming up the steps, I'd have married a woman who was counting down the hours until she could humiliate me on camera for money that didn't even exist. What gets me isn't the betrayal itself. People cheat. People lie. That's not new. What gets me is the calculation. Chantal sat on our deck, in our home, drinking tea from the mug I bought her in Queenstown, and calmly worked out the dollar value of my pain. $60,000 for my tears. $45,000 from my parents' savings. My dignity reduced to a line item on someone else's spreadsheet. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. And choices have consequences. Every single one of them. Rico found that out. He spent years manipulating women, promising money he never had, treating people's relationships like content for his download numbers. And where did it land him? Divorced. Broke. Doing deliveries in Otahu while his ex-wife raises their kids without him. That wasn't bad luck. That was the natural result of years of dishonesty catching up with a man who thought he was too clever to get caught. Nobody is. Sooner or later, the bill comes due. Chantal found that out too. She's smart. She has a degree, she had a career, she had people who loved her. But somewhere along the way she decided that shortcuts were easier than the real thing. That taking was simpler than earning. That a man's feelings were less important than a cash transfer. And now she's doing admin for her uncle's plumbing company in Tepuke, and every man who Googles her name finds the video before he finds her smile. That's not cruelty. That's cause and effect. I've thought a lot about what separates the people who come through something like this from the people who don't. And I reckon it comes down to 3 things. The first is character. Not the performance of being good, but the quiet, unglamorous habit of doing right when nobody's watching. I could have raged. I could have smashed things, sent threats, gone after Rico physically. Wairumu offered. Aiden offered. I said no. Not because I'm a saint, but because I knew that the moment I lowered myself to their level, I'd lose the only thing they couldn't take from me, which was my integrity. Character isn't what you do when everything's going well. It's what you do when someone hands you every reason to fall apart. The second is clear thinking. Emotion nearly destroyed me that Thursday night. I wanted to confront Chantal immediately, scream at her, throw things, demand answers. But I didn't. I stopped. I recorded. I gathered evidence. I called people I trusted. I made a plan. That clarity, that ability to think straight when your world is on fire, that saved me. Rico and Chantal both failed here. They were so busy chasing easy money and quick thrills that they never stopped to think about what happens when the scheme collapses. They had no plan B because they never honestly assessed plan A. The third is resilience. The willingness to keep going when everything's been knocked out from under you. The morning after the wedding, I woke up in my brother's spare room with nothing. No fiancé, no home, no future I recognized. And I got up anyway. Made a coffee. Called a lawyer. Started rebuilding. Not because I'm tough, but because the alternative was letting Chantal and Rico define the rest of my life. And I refused to give them that. Isla asked me once if I'd do it differently. I told her the only thing I'd change is paying attention sooner. The signs were there for months. I just loved the version of Chantal I'd invented more than I loved the truth. That's the real lesson. Not that people are terrible, because most aren't. But that you owe it to yourself to see clearly, act with decency, and keep moving forward, even when the ground shifts beneath you.